Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. My decision right here and now.
Okay, and now's that moment when it's my pleasure to introduce our very own Reverend Mary Masters, who will be sharing the message for this first Sunday of Lent. I can't believe it's Lent already. The lesson and meditation will be on the theme, the art of letting go and letting God.
So, how are you this morning?
Great.
And I know there'll be people watching later in the week, so blessings to our viewers online. But one of the things I've been learning in the Integral Ministry program is how important our Spirit Groups program is. That we want to not just be a church with small groups, but a church of small groups. And so I want to give a special appreciation to Lonnie and Millie for leading that program. And everybody that's part of it, and everybody that wants to be part of it. And I think that yesterday was the last regular session of sessions focused on the book. But there are still two more really vital and essential parts of the Spirit Group program and of this series. And the first one is a service project. My understanding is you're going to be going to Hearts for the Homeless coming up at
March 26th.
March 26th.
We're going to Hearts for the Homeless, make sandwiches and stock their food pantry. And we will also be going to Rise Cafe and drinking coffee and supporting that new coffee shop.
Oh, wow. They're going to be going on March 26th to help make sandwiches and stock the food pantry and then go to a coffee shop and support that. So I would think maybe if you're not even part of Spirit Groups, you could still join in that. Please see Lonnie and Millie or follow up with us afterward. But Hearts for the Homeless, just so you know, it's a wonderful organization, and they are involved. Their mission is clothing and feeding the chronic homeless, and those that are poor and those that are in need. Since 1990, they've been serving our community. I think they're here in Tonawanda and North Tonawanda, and through what they describe as relationship ministry. I like that. I like the sound of that. That it's not just about helping people, but being in relationship with people to help us all lift up. And so, I think that's a really important, that's one of the ways that we are helping to transform lives and inspire people to make a positive difference in the world. And so spirit groups, I just can't say it enough. It's way more than just a book study or a class. It involves the 5 C's: communion, taking time for prayer and meditation, connection time, social time, compassion, being there for each other, community, outreach projects, and challenge to keep growing and learning. So as I read the last couple chapters in the book that Christine Bush has channeled, understanding the essence of your soul, I was kind of struck by this quote. I thought, oh, how true this is. A true spiritual life is a path, not an ending. You don't ever just get to the, okay, I'm done, I finished this, I'm complete. Like we're always progressing and learning. There's always more to learn, more to experience, more to share. And I thought, oh, to me that is so exciting. That's what makes me get up in the morning. Like, wow, there's something new today that I can learn or experience or grow. And so one of the chapters is, how do you answer the call of your soul? Having come to understand a little better about the nature of our soul or spiritual understanding, how do we answer the call to it? It's not just like, oh, okay, the phone's ringing, let it ring, ring, ring. Pick up the phone, punch the button to receive this call. And, you might we'll just let it go into voicemail and get back to it later. I guess I thought about, for me, I think it looks like walking through life, our ordinary day, with an awakened consciousness and an open and loving heart and a willingness to be engaged. And that's what being part of the spirit group or the service project, being engaged, not just saying, oh, well, I'll pray for those people, or I hope we won't do this. I'm going to find a way to be engaged. And so I think Lent, here we are at the beginning of this 40-day period, that this is also an opportunity to practice all these things. Practice living life with an awakened consciousness, having an open and loving heart, willingness to be engaged. And every year I share that I like these 2 acronyms. Pick which one or both, really. Lent stands for let's eliminate negative thinking and let's entertain new thoughts. In traditional Christian churches, they often talk about giving up something. How do you really miss giving up chocolate or giving up coffee, or who's given up in the past? What kinds of things have you given up? Or Nikki, or
Candy, but sometimes expletives.
Candy. Oh, expletives. We get the main point. Yeah, so okay. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, he talked about that Lent, really, Jesus never talked about it. It's not in the Christian scriptures. It was something that was sort of created as an institution of the church. But it embodies an exalted idea, a very important idea about cleansing and releasing and letting go. Whether it's the form of forgiveness or worry or doubt or releasing negative thoughts, and then opening ourselves to divine ideas. And so Lent is really an intensively focused time of spiritual growth, a time for progressive unfoldment. And I love this idea about 40. The number 40 is very symbolic. It shows up in the Bible a lot, but it's considered what they call a 4-square number. Boy, you know, if you want to build a table and you want it to be really solid, a foundation, you probably put 4 legs on it, not 3 or 2. 4, so it's a solid foundation. And so we can think of Lent as this is a time when we're building a foundation for what is to come, for completion. And of course, we move into the Easter story from there. But so the theme, you know, one, please make sure you've got one of our Lenten Unity Lenten booklets, and take one to give to someone if you know someone that would like to follow along with this. But the theme is letting go, letting God. And each week they suggest kind of a theme of some major category to focus on. You know, we got a lot of, most of us probably have a fair amount of baggage of stuff that we can come up with to let go of. You know, and the booklet suggests that Jesus set the example for us in letting go in all these areas. You know, this week's theme is human ego. And then others' approval, letting go of others' approval. That's one I'm playing. Worry or fear, being right, the outward, you know, letting go of worrying about the outcome, how it's going to turn out. And then ultimately just, you know, our physical life. So I thought about this week's theme is we're stepping into the week of letting go of our human ego. Well, we probably all can relate to that in some ways. And what helps me understand what we mean by ego is to think of it as the acronym, edging God out. When we're in our ego, we kind of edge God out. Don't worry about God, I got this one. I got it figured out. I know what I'm going to do to fix this situation. Well, you know, it doesn't always work out that way when I try to do it. And so sometimes I was kind of pondering this, but why is it so difficult sometimes to let go? You know, we know that it would be good for us to let go of all those things. Let go of worry, let go of fear, let go of being right. But sometimes we still kind of hang on a little more, you know. And it reminds me of this story about a climber that was walking along and he fell off this cliff. But he just managed to grab hold of a branch. And there he is hanging on this branch on the edge of this cliff. And he starts calling out, help, help! Is there anybody up there that can help me? And then he hears this majestic voice comes booming through the canyon. It says, I will help you, son, but first you must have faith. Have faith in me. And so the man cried out, yes, yes, I trust, I believe. And then the voice came back booming, let go of the branch. And he paused for a moment, and he says, is there anybody else up there I can talk to? What do you mean, let go? I don't know if I want to do this or not. So sometimes I think maybe the reason we have difficulty letting go is we have difficulty trusting that God or the universe will bring along something better to take its place. You know, even if worry or fear or thinking about the outcome, we know it's maybe not the best thing, but we just think it's familiar. It's what I'm used to. I'm used to worrying about how that's going to work out. So maybe I should just hang on to that instead of just letting go and trusting. So this week, for our lesson, I wanted to share some examples. So I think we need to not just let go, but also let God, to invite God in, to make it a welcoming, to make our awareness of God's presence. You know, we need to, you know, instead of edging God out, we want to walk through our day, our ordinary experiences, with an awakened mind, to welcome our awareness of God's presence. With an open heart, an open mind, a willingness to be engaged. And so I did something this week that I hadn't done, that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I took myself on a field trip. I really recommend it. Go somewhere you haven't been before. Do something different. Julia Cameron refers to this in some of her books as an artist day. You know, just get out of your box and take yourself somewhere. So what I did, something I've been wanting to do for a while, is I called up the Massachusetts Avenue Project, who we've had a relationship with for a very long time. I said, I'd like to come over and I arranged to just have a tour and meet the executive director. I just want, we've been providing Christmas gifts for their young people for a long time, and we hear about the wonderful things they do, but it's another thing to actually go there and see all the stuff that they have going on. I was really inspired, is all I can say. And so we're in the process of setting up my boyfriend and I were going to coordinate a field trip for our church, a church outing sometime later in May when we can all go together. Actually, they have some volunteer days. And so while I was there, I was really enjoying meeting the people and seeing the beehives. And they have chickens that lay eggs, but all the stuff that they grow, and they have like 9 employees and 50 volunteers, and they have a whole curriculum that the high school kids go through. And it's amazing. They have 15 locations where you could go there all year round on Thursdays from 3 to 6 and buy produce, but then during from like April to November, 15 different locations where they deliver produce that people can, just a lot of things about agriculture. And so while I was there, I saw this sign and I thought, oh, I really like that. If you ate today, thank a farmer. The food doesn't just somehow magically get on your plate or show up in the store. When you walk through the produce section or any section at a store, or you sit down and you plate for dinner today, think about the farmers who made that possible. And then this was on Tuesday, I think, and I'm still trying to figure out what am I going to talk about on Sunday, and who am I going to introduce to as a new friend for Black History Month. And then I saw this flyer on their bulletin board when I first walked in, celebrating Black history in agriculture. Booker T. Whately, George Washington Carver, Fannie Lou Hamer. I could spend hours on each one of them, but I thought, oh, that's it. To me, Black History Month really is about sharing stories of inspiration, overcoming, resilience, courage, people with incredible gifts and talents that have made a difference. And I remembered years ago what I learned about George Washington Carver. And so I wanted to share with you a little bit about him. And not a little bit, actually. But, I don't know about you, but I remember in elementary school we had to learn about different people. And back in those days, I had to use an Encyclopedia Britannica. It was actually a book you took off the shelves. We had the whole top. My parents had, a 10-set volume at home. Of course, now we just look it up on our phones. But I remember I had to do a paper. I think I was probably in 6th grade on George Washington Carver. And I recall copying out of the encyclopedia all the different uses he discovered for a peanut. 325 different uses for peanut. So you can imagine how many pages of notebook paper that must have filled in my 5th grade handwriting. But 20-year flash forward, or look back to almost 20 years ago, we had a beloved member of our church, Loretta Tiffany. Some people I think remember her. She had started attending our church in the 1950s. And I would get together for lunch with her, and she had, boxes of old Unity pamphlets and publications. And every time we'd get together, she would bring, some stuff she wanted to pass on. Here's some old pamphlets and stuff. And I'd kind of look through them. I never knew what treasures I would discover in this box that she would bring me. But one time she brought this box, and it had this little pamphlet in it called The Man Who Talks with the Flowers. What's that? What's that about? And then I opened it, and the subtitle on the inside was The Intimate Life of Dr. George Washington Carver. This was a little pamphlet published in 1939, and it turned out the writer of it was someone who was actually a personal acquaintance and friend of Dr. Carver's. And so I got some flowers here, because we might need to talk to the flowers during the service. Or maybe you'll come up and have a conversation afterward. But I wanted to share with you a little bit about Dr. George Washington Carver, because to me, what I learned about him was so inspiring. It was like unbelievable. But he was, so now I kind of consider him an old friend. And he always wore a flower in his buttonhole as a way of remembering to talk to the flowers. You know, and as I learned about him, I realized that, man, he would have been right at home in Unity if he had known about us or we had known about him back then. But, so this is a picture of him. And this is one thing that apparently he said a lot, or that it was sort of a theme in his life. He said, life-seeming disappointments become God's appointments. And that I know that God would not close a door in my face without pointing to a better door ahead. He lived his life by that. That life-seeming disappointments are God's appointments to show up for something better. And God wouldn't close the door unless something else was about to happen. And so he had some challenges in his life. He had a lot of challenges. He was born in 1865 in a little town, Diamond Grove, Missouri. His parents were slaves. As a newborn child in the middle of the Civil War, some Confederate kidnappers came along and stole him and his mother away. His father, who was a farmer, immediately gathered a rescue party. They went off in hot pursuit, and they found him in Arkansas. His mother was never heard from again. She was gone. But the father was able to barter a broken-down racehorse to reclaim his son. And so that was the first challenge for George Washington Carver. And then the next thing happened. As a baby, he became very ill. He had what's called the whooping cough. But he recovered from that, but as a youngster, he was delicate. He had a lot of health challenges. So although, because of his physical condition, he wasn't able to do the heavy farm labor to help his dad and his family, although it was a disappointment, it was an appointment for something else. That because he didn't have to spend the time working on the farm, he used his leisure time to develop his unique talents and genius, and those were able to take expression. He studied in a one-room schoolhouse. He attended high school in Kansas. The first college he applied to, he wasn't accepted because he was black. But later he was accepted to a tiny little college in Indianola, Iowa, that I happen to know about because my former boss at the Big Ten went to Indianola College. And he began a science career where he transferred to Iowa State, got a bachelor's and a master's degree in agriculture. He wound up going down to Tuskegee Institute. Booker T. Washington encouraged him to come down there and become the school's director of agriculture. And Booker T. Washington later described him, he said, that little black boy, he lived and used his freedom to wander in the woods, where he soon got on good terms with insects and animals in the forest. He gained an intimate and even a personal acquaintance with plants and flowers. So one of the things that George Washington Carver noticed when he got down there was having a single crop was wearing out the rich soils of Alabama and impoverishing the debt-burdened sharecroppers. So we had the idea that they ought to rotate crops. Every year plant different things so that the soils would have a chance to rejuvenate. And he wrote farming bulletins, and he gave speeches, and he talked and taught about crop rotation. And he discovered that sweet potatoes and peanuts were the type of crop that the soil brought forth in the greatest abundance. So everybody was rotating peanuts one year, sweet potatoes the next. But the problem was they were so successful that they had this huge abundance. Suddenly they had too much, way more peanuts and sweet potato than anybody could possibly eat or that they could sell. And so solving one problem led to another problem. What do we do with all this extra surplus? So he went into his little laboratory that he called, I think, God's laboratory, God's little workshop, that he described as, he said, no books were ever brought in here. There's no need of that, because I've talked to the peanut, and it reveals its secrets to me. And in God's little workshop, he discovered more than 300 new uses for the peanut, 150 uses for the sweet potato, and they claim that he rebuilt the agriculture of the South. At one point, Thomas Edison offered him a big salary to come up and work with him, and he declined that, and other apparently very lucrative offers in order to stay at Tuskegee and help the farmers in the South. But the best part of the story is how spiritual he was. You know, he was known, he'd been named after, obviously, our first president, George Washington, because they said he was known as a boy who never told a lie. You know, he never told. But what he did, this is the part I find, he talked to the plants, and he talked to the peanuts, and he let them talk back to him. And he describes this one conversation he had with the Creator in this laboratory. He said, years ago, this is in that little book, Talking to the Flowers. He said, years ago, I went into my laboratory and I said, dear Creator, please tell me what the universe, here's a little picture. Dear Creator, tell me what the universe was made for. God, tell me. And he said, the Creator answered back, you want to know too much for that little mind of yours. Ask for something your size. In other words, God was saying, be more specific. And so Dr. Carter said, then I asked, well, dear Mr. Creator, tell me what man was made for. And again, the Creator replied, little man, you're still asking too much. Cut down the extent of your response and improve your intent. So God was telling him, get your question more specific. So then he said, okay, please, Mr. Creator, will you tell me why the peanut was made? That's better, God said. And even at that, it's infinite. What do you want to know about the peanut? And so Carver said, Mr. Creator, well, can you make milk out of a peanut? God said, well, what kind of milk do you want? Do you want good Jersey milk or do you want plain boarding house milk? And God answered, good Jersey milk. And so that was the kind of conversation that the Carver actually, he said that the Creator taught him how to take apart a peanut and put it together. And out of that process, he created more than 325 different products. Face powder, printer's ink, butter, shampoo, vinegar, dandruff cure, instant coffee, dyes, rubber compounds, salads, cooking oil, wood stains, 300 different things that could be done from a peanut. And so Carver came to be known as the father of sustainable agriculture. And, you know, and he said that, you know, what other materials do I need that have that promise? And he talked to the sweet potato, but he talked to flowers. That was one of his favorite things. He would talk to the flowers. And he said the flowers always talk back to him. You know, he said, this flower, which I hold in my hand, was sent to me by some folks in South Carolina. It's suffering from a particular disease, which is threatening all the other flowers. And the flowers of that variety in that state. They want me to know if I can do something to heal the flower. Apparently he talked to the flower and he found a solution. And he said, you know, when I touch that flower, I'm not merely touching the flower, I'm touching infinity. That little flower existed long before human beings on this earth. And it will continue to exist for thousands of years, yes, millions of years. And, you know, there's a story about how a friend would go walking occasionally with Dr. Carver. They would go walking, you know, in a field in the woods, but they would never get very far because at every few steps, Dr. Carver had to stop and have a conversation with the next flower. Stop and look at it and touch it and ask how it wanted to speak to him. And so the author of this little pamphlet suggests there were three prongs, three things that were the golden key to his connection. The first was his love of flowers. That, you know, that he saw the flowers, that he saw love as the force that holds all the stars in the sky. Love is a magnet that draws all things to it. Even secret truths can be revealed through stones and rocks. And then the second thing was humility. That Dr. Carver had, you know, that he had the sense of selflessness and humility. And I guess that's our Lenten theme this week, edging God out, you know, letting go of our human ego. But just that he could go into this place that set like a deep state of relaxation, physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, and just commune with nature and hear things that other people didn't hear. And then, of course, he had faith, and a sense of wonder and awe and appreciation for things. He said, if you can conceive the tremendous awe and wonder that one feels when he sees an overwhelming sight, like Niagara Falls for the first time, you will understand the feeling that Dr. Carver gets when he looks at a flower. That he's able to, and I think this is from Shakespeare, you know, Dr. Carver was able to find the tons and trees, and the books and running brooks, and sermons in the stones, and good in everything. So I think about these qualities for ourselves, you know, love and humility and faith and awe and wonder, that maybe that would allow us to speak a peanut, or to a flower, or to a bud. And Dr. Carver had this incredible prayer consciousness. People said that when he would pray with them, when they were in his presence, they felt this energy. So, you know, you might ask, well, you know, he said, when I'm touching a flower, I'm not merely touching that flower, I'm touching infinity. That little flower has existed for thousands, millions of years, and it will always exist. And he said, I love to think of nature as an unlimited broadcasting station through which God speaks to us every day, every hour, every moment of our lives, if we will only tune in and remain. So maybe how perfect it is that we're having a Peace Park team meeting today. And let's keep that in mind, and maybe that's what's going on out there on the Peace Park. There's a little broadcasting station that people really can practice some of these ideas, that they will tune into that station and hear something they didn't hear. So how does he do it? He said, how do I talk to a little flower or peanut? I talk. It's through it that I talk to the infinite. And what is the infinite? Well, I think of the infinite as another name for God. It is that still, that silent, still force. It is that still small voice that calls up the fairies. At Lilydale, they have a little fairy trail. I don't know if fairies are real or not. Maybe they are. He said, the infinite is not confined. They're real? Oh, okay. Eve said they're real. So, okay. That's good enough for me. Infinite's not confined to the visible world. It's not in the wind or the air. It's the still small voice that calls up the fairies. And he said there are certain things, often very little things, like the little peanut, or the little piece of clay, or a little flower, that can cause you to look within. And then it is that you see into the soul of things. The eye is the window of the soul, and the soul cannot be measured out. The soul is infinite. That's why I think we can claim George Washington Carver as he would be right at home in the Unity Church, I think, with our idea of things. We've spent, our spirit groups have spent the last 7 or 8 weeks, or I don't know, talking about understanding our soul, or the essence of our soul. The soul can't be measured out. The soul is infinite. So that's why I feel like, maybe, here I am now at the end of our lesson for today, but it's really not the ending. As I said, true spiritual life, there is no ending. It's always ongoing. And then there's always more to learn, more to experience, more to share. And out of this little field trip that I took myself on to the Massachusetts Avenue Project, and coincidentally stumbling upon a flyer that happened to mention George Washington Carver's name, it inspired me to remember and look back and find all these things that I had learned about from my friend Loretta Tiffany 20 years ago in this little pamphlet she gave me. So this year for Lent, I thought I invite us to not just let go of things that don't serve us anymore, but also let God to open and be receptive to how God is speaking to us. And it might be taking yourself on a field trip this week. Doing something different that you haven't done before, go somewhere, talk to someone that you don't normally talk to. Remember to thank a farmer for every meal you eat, or whatever's on your plate for dinner tonight. Talk to the flowers or the trees. And just know that God is the infinite nature of all that is. God is, as Dr. Carver said, God is that silent, still force, the still, small voice that calls up the fairies. So I said, let's do it now. Let's call up some fairies. Michelle's saying, yeah. So let's move now into our time of meditation. And Janine is going to lead us in singing Into the Stillness, or In the Stillness.
In the stillness of this moment, there is peace, there is peace. In the stillness of this moment, there is peace, there is peace, and I rest and trust and breathe and know that in the stillness of this moment there is peace. Oh, in the stillness of this moment there is love, there is love. In the stillness of this moment, there is love, there is love. And I rest and trust and breathe and know that in the stillness of this moment there is love. Sweet
invite you now to gently close your eyes if you'd like. Relax and breathe in the peace of God. And we've made a new friend today, Dr. George Washington Carver. And he had many gifts, but among them was being able to speak and listen, hear the voice of God, hear the infinite, speaking to him through flowers and peanuts and nature. And so I'd like to invite you to know that that's possible for you too. As a creation of divine love and wisdom, we too are connected with the infinite. The infinite speaks to us through our heart. Our soul's yearning for expression. And so we take a few moments now in the silence to connect with our awareness of the divine presence, to feel infinite love, peace that passes all understanding. So we take a deep breath and give thanks for our awareness of the infinite presence that is always with us. We remember that a true spiritual life is not a path, or is a path, not an ending. In our February welcome flyer, how perfect it is that the message today, the message for this month, from the Lighthouse Corner, is a prayer from our beloved Amy Barone. She wrote, "The more I tune into the silence within, the more available to life I am. I remember to pause more frequently during my day and let go into the stillness. I silently witness all the beauty around me."
Let us include in our prayers this morning the prayers in this prayer box, all who have prayers on their hearts, and especially those who may feel as though they have no one to pray for them. And now, please bring to mind anyone you would like to keep in our prayers today. You may say their names aloud and hold them silently in your heart. Father, Mother God, we center our attention now on your power and presence, knowing you are working in our lives and in the lives of those we hold in our minds and hearts. We take comfort that your presence is woven into all of creation and is calling all things into order. We let go of our limited view can focus on the horizon of possibility. We radiate faith and love into the world. And we say, thank you, God. Amen.
The whisper that I hear in my heart, telling me it's time to start, to set my inhibitions free, become the me I'm here to be. So I'll act brave as if I am, act as if until I can, live each day as though I know that what I seek is seeking me, even when it's hard to see. I choose faith, so I believe that what I seek is seeking me. Oh yeah. It's time to just let go of my fears, trusting that the net will appear. Believe in things I know are true, in everything I say and do. So I'll act brave as if I am, act as if until I can, live each day as though I know that what I seek is seeking me, even when that's hard to see. I choose faith, so I believe that what I seek is seeking me. Join if you know it. What I seek is seeking me, even when that's hard to see. I choose faith, so I believe that what I seek is seeking me. When every day's a daily grind, peace is something I can't find. This is what I keep in mind. What I seek is seeking me, even when it's hard to see. I choose faith, so I believe that what I seek is seeking me. Oh yeah, what I seek is seeking me, even when it's hard to see. Even when it's hard to see, I choose faith. I choose faith, so I believe what I seek is seeking me. Join me. What I seek is seeking me. So you remember, what I seek is seeking me. So you take it home. What I seek is seeking me.
Is our Unity Chaplain Retreat, which is going to be on Saturday, March 23rd. And what I want to say about this is last year I went and I was a little surprised that there weren't more people there. And there were two reasons for that. The first reason being free lunch made by Latasha. Now, come on. But the second reason is that it is a place where we in community can practice and learn and pray together, and that strengthens our community. So you do not have to be an aspiring chaplain to come. It's a little retreat in the middle of your march. So please consider attending, and we will all enjoy having you there. That is the first thing on our transformational opportunities. Now the second thing is also very near and dear to my heart, because I am going to be teaching 2 classes here on mindfulness. And I have to say, I was really humbled, I'm getting tearful about it, hearing about Dr. Washington Carver, George Washington Carver. Like, what a way shower of mindfulness. And that mindfulness is that practice of coming into the heart space. And we practice that here. And then we go out in the world and it's harder. So it's a practice of coming back. And we look to those way showers, like Dr. Carver, and see the possibility that is ours as well. The Buddha said that there are 3 refuges as you're working toward enlightenment. The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So the Buddha is it's our own nature. It can be the Buddha nature, the divine nature. That's the first one. So at these classes, we're all bringing that. We all have that. And the Dharma is the teachings. And not just, it's the teachings that I will be sharing and the practices I'll be sharing, but it's also the inspiration that we find in that own heart of ours, in that own space of divine wisdom. So just like George Washington Carver could look at a flower and receive wisdom, that's the space we're opening into as we come into mindfulness. And the last of the 3 things the Buddha mentioned was the Sangha, community. And that again is us practicing together. So these classes are an opportunity to be together, to share our hearts, and to listen to our hearts, and learn together in that way. So there's more detailed information about them in all the places. But the first one is a 4-week class. It's Wednesdays in March, 3:30 to 5 p.m. And that one is called Being Fully Here, Cultivating Mindfulness in Your Life. And the second one is on April 6th from 9:30 to 3:30 p.m. It's a full-day mini retreat, Mindfulness with the Hard Stuff, a day of learning and practice to find peace and movement amidst life's challenges. So at Unity, we know the divine is always present, but then you pull out of the parking lot and there's life, and you turn on the TV and there's the news. So how do we bring those together? Which again, the perfect example Mary was giving, and that's what we're practicing. It's in us as well. So that's what these are about, and there's a little more details, or you can ask me if you have questions. There's a sign-up sheet. The classes will be offered on a sliding scale, and if even that scale is not doable for you right now, please attend. Just come see me, it's fine. I've been there. I know when I'm low on the flow. It's all good. Okay, and now we will have Joyce Gaius will come forward and share all of her share.
Thank you. Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. What I'd like to mention is something I did not realize, but I'm glad that I know now, that we will be having our 80th church anniversary of Unity here, Unity of Buffalo, and it will be in June. That means it's been 80 years that church has been here, and it's a wonderful thing, I think, to celebrate. What I would like, and I'm going to talk to the group again, or the congregation, is for everyone to be thinking of how they may like to celebrate our 80th year. What ideas and what things do you think that we could do, that we could do differently, that we could include, so that it is really a beautiful, special way to celebrate our church? be it if we have it here, or if we have it catered, or if we have it in a restaurant. But if people would like to see me, I'm gonna put a little sign up or a little basket out that people can put in their ideas that we can review, and then I can take them back to the board, and we will surely have a discussion. But I think that everyone that comes here to contribute to exactly how we should celebrate our 80th anniversary. So I ask you all to be thinking of that, and I will be continuing to ask you again and keeping you apprised at our progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. I can't wait for that. I'm sure we'll have a divine flow of ideas. So 2 more items here. Mark your calendars for a congregational update meeting with our board that'll take place on Sunday, March 17th after our service, and we'd like everyone to attend.